Hey everybody, welcome back to FSI DFS's coverage of Major League Baseball. I'm Mega Ruler 31. Be covering the giant 14-game slate for Draftkings for Friday for 23. It's actually kind of nice to have a large slate and not have these split up slates through the day. It seems like, that's what baseball should be when you're there 6:30 at night trying to figure out if all the lines are there and all these players in 14 games from 28 teams. Makes it a little overwhelming sometimes, but very exciting to have such a great player pool. So looking forward to it tonight. Not hardly any weather concerns. Maybe a little bit of rain late in the game. Cincinnati, St. Louis, but other than that, cool in some areas, but looks like a really good night for some baseball. So let's start with pitching. And I think we really have some really good options tonight. So looking at the top four, I think Jacob deGrom definitely has to be the number one pitcher out there. He's up against Washington, but Soto's not in that lineup. They've really been struggling to start the season off. He just in cash games, it's just play him. Don't even think about it. I think he's the one that you just have to lock in. He's reasonable too at 10-9. Not like he's up in 11, 12K. So I definitely start with Jacob deGrom. Other ace out there is Glasnow for Tampa Bay against Toronto. Toronto has a lineup that has great potential, but they've really struggled against right-handers, and it seems like his leash is getting a little bit longer now. So I think he's definitely the next one I would consider. Then you've got another pitcher duel in the West with San Diego and the Dodgers. You have Clayton Kershaw coming in at 10.2, and you have Darvish coming in at 9.7. And didn't they like face each other last weekend? It seems. Anyways, looking at it, you can make a case for either pitcher. Kershaw seems like he's rounding back into form. He did face a really good pitcher on San Diego. I believe it was Darvish last weekend, and I believe he got the win in that one. He did really well. That turned into a great pitcher's game. And Darvish, he's facing the Dodgers, but they've got a couple guys out. It's not their full lineup, even though it's at LA, which is a better hitting environment than if the game was in San Diego. I could definitely, consider both of them, but I definitely think you got to go deGrom. And the cool thing about having a 14-game slate, even with Coors Field, is there's so much value on here that you can actually play deGrom and Glasnow in a lineup and not hate it. And I'll get to that when we get to the bats. But looking at some other pitchers that are out there that we could potentially use, let's see here. And maybe make a case for Matson. The other side of the game, Tampa Bay does have some Ks in that lineup. The game has a completely low total of 7 overall. The implied run total for Tampa Bay is 3.89. So the win equity might be hard to get there, but an 8.9 might be a little bit high compared to some of the other guys we might talk to, but Mats is definitely in play. Mike Minor possibly also. He seems to be going deep into games. Detroit has a lot of Ks. I do like some of the Detroit bats being cheap against him, so you'd have to probably fade them. It just wouldn't make sense to play them against your pitcher if you do go with Minor. But 6'9", he definitely opens up a lot. Perez against Seattle, he's a lefty, one of the best power bats on Seattle is a lefty, and Seager. I mean, you still have Hanger. Lewis has come back, but I don't think that Perez is going to get a huge game against them, but I think it's enough at 6'8" to pay off his salary. If you, like I said, if you want to take some Detroit bats and don't trust Minor, but I do think Minor's in a little bit better situation. But Perez is definitely someone that's playable in that range. Also, Unola against Arizona. They don't have a super scary line. They only have a 3.69 total. Enola struggle a little bit, but when he's on, and he definitely has the potential. But he's a little bit more expensive. He's 7.5 compared to Perez at 6.8 and Minor at 6.9. Cisse is definitely for the White Sox in play also at 6.6, which is a little bit more. He's got a ton of K upside against this Texas team that's very free swinging, although he does give up some power. So it's you often see it. We have these Jekyll and Hyde pitchers, and we've talked about it a couple times, where you either play the pitcher and then you hedge with a stack of the team in a GPP, and then you really can't lose because it's going to go one way or the other. There's really no in between. It's either Cisse's on, he's K's a bunch and does really well, and Dunning's a good pitcher there. So I think the starting lineup, his Chicago White Sox is good, but the bullpen of Texas is horrible. So I think, if Cisse lasted long enough in the game, that the White Sox batters can get to the bullpen to get him the win there. So definitely he's in play also. So the only other one that I might consider is Alcantara for the Marlins. He's at San Francisco. That's a hitter friendly or a pitcher friendly ballpark. Their wind is blowing out a little bit to left, but the Giants have an okay lineup. They mix and match against you, so you'll see a lot of lefties thrown at him in the lineup. They only have a 3.72 run total. They don't really scare me, and Alcantara seems like he's been pretty solid to start the season, so that's where you go for pitching. For hitting, we'll get to Coors Field in a little bit. I think two of the best environments that you have Oakland against Baltimore. So Matt Olson, the lefty, is probably the best play on that team, but also Lowry, the switch hitter, Moreland at first base at only 3-1 is a great play against Lopez. Probably Chapman and Lorano. Kana, you can also sprinkle in there too, but you definitely want the lefties. The righties are okay to throw in the stack, but primarily, go with lefties. Seth Brown, if he cracks the lineup, probably batting 8th. He'd be like 3-3, like pretty much everybody in the lineup except for Elvis. It seems like he and Odor, like these former Rangers, are popping up on teams left and right, and I just think they're past their prime and just not worthy of playing and rostering anymore. Mets versus Fetty, I can see them as not a primary stack, but a secondary stack. I take some pieces there. See who else looks like good spot. The Yankees have been struggling. They've been pretty cold, but they go up against Logan Allen. He's an okay pitcher, but it's a lefty, and that's the righties where they have power. So might be a chance to for them to come alive. I think they're more of a GPP than a cash stack. Urshela is kind of interesting. He was banged up. He's got an injury designation as day-to-day, but I think he'll be in the lineup. But they haven't projected hitting 4th at 3.3. That's definitely a value I like. Like I said, I like Detroit also against Minor. I like Minor as pitcher, but I do think the Detroit with their pricing is really good against him. They have a lot of switch hitters and right-handed bats, so that could be a cheap stack that you could throw out there also. Boston is in a great spot against Kukichi. JD Martinez is on hot, but he's up to 6K. I just, paying Dodger prices for these batters. I'll probably play one stack, but I'll probably be in a GPP, and I'll probably be paying down on pitchers. So I'm just hoping a lot goes right. Probably would still play DeGrom in that one and just try to take a cheap SP2, but just to get JD in at 6K and Xander in at 5.6 and Devers in at 5.6. There are some cheaper pieces like Renfroe against the righty. Might get a pinch hit for later on in the game, but if he's only 3.2, so I like that. Kiki leading off at 4K. I think that's very reasonable against the lefty. I'll take that. Depending on who they have at catcher, might be decent. Still waiting for Dahlbeck to get started. Don't think I'm going to play him today, though. As soon as he starts hitting hot like he hit in the spring, then I'll start roster him and try to get ahead of the curve early, but it hasn't come yet. So I'm not hopping off the train for now. I'll wait at the station for the next train to come around. Braves could get the Wheeler, but on this game slate, not going there pretty much. Again, Texas, I said, could get the CC, probably like the power lefty bats. So Gallo, Low, or Lau. I can't remember which one that one is. Nate, maybe throw a dollar in there too. Calhoun, they're pretty cheap also in the stack. I don't think there's any place else I really want to go. Like the Dodgers and Padres have the great offenses, but you got two really good pitchers there. So, I mean, that'd be like super, super contrarian if you take pieces from that game in the bat wise against those pitchers. I could definitely see the Angels maybe getting to Greinke. So Trout was a little banged up, so I don't know if he'll be in the lineup. So there's some potential there, but they only have a 3.7 run total. So bearing the lead, let's get to Coors Field. I think we've seen some disappointment in Coors. We haven't seen the football scores recently. It has a 10 total, 5.25 on each side. Marquez is a decent pitcher. Velasquez will probably get the worst of it. Temperature is 51, so that's not as bad. But as I look at it here, there's some really cheap bats here. I can't believe it. Doesn't seem like normal Coors pricing. Yes, you have Harper at 5.7 and Real Muto at 5.1, McMahon at 5.2, which seems pretty high for him. I mean, he has had some success early in the season, but he's not like superstar level. He's priced more in the story at 5.1. So you have some guys in the low fives here, which is reasonable for Coors. It's not like super jacked up, but then like McCutchen started the season good, leading off 3.9. You have Braum, who's probably the most underpriced player on the slate at third base at 3.5. So absolute, I think, lock there for me. Brad Miller, who's a little bit older, but still lefty righty matchup, only 3K in Coors Field. Nick Mattson, if he continues to play shortstop, only 2.4. Then you have Mickey Monac, who not super sure about him, but if he fits in the stack, definitely. He's only 2.3, so some great prices there. Then you look at the other side, Tapia leading off. He's hit or miss, but still only 3K bat at Coors. Blackman 4.5, definitely reasonable. Cron only 3.9. I really like that. The rest of the guys rounding out, like Daza, if he's in 2.7, and Fuentes and Nunez, the catcher with a split advantage, 3.8, and Fuentes at 3.3. So definitely some pricing that can fit in here. So as usual, I just want to kind of go around the horn and say, if you want to play Glasnow and DeGrom up top and not worry about trying to figure out who your cheap SP2 is going to be, let's just look at some pricing on some players. So start with catcher. Tom Murphy against Perez has the split advantage. He's only 2.7. Baboom and Jensen are both just 2K. So if you want to punt catcher, then definitely Baboom has the split advantage there against, I believe it's Greinke. Yes. So, not saying that they're going to get a ton of points, but definitely has. And then Leon has, he's a switch hitter if he's in Sandy against the Giants. So, it's a better chance for him to stay in the game because he can hit from both sides of the plate. But looking at first base, Meadows on the Red Sox, like I said, he's very reasonable there. I think I definitely would probably want to lock in Brad Miller at 3K in Coors Field. But if you want to go a little bit different, Brandon Belt, if you're not playing Alcantara, you have Diaz leading off for Tampa Bay there. He has the lefty matchup too. For second base, I think there's only one player, like not much value there. So I think you either go and you play McMahon in Coors if you can afford that. I'd avoid like some of the cheap guys like Odor and Carpenter. I think they're like past their prime. Fletcher, he just hasn't got there. Birdie, if he's in the lineup for Florida, has a split advantage, but he sits in the middle of the order or down towards the bottom. So maybe I could consider him, but I think where you just want to go is just Nico Goodrum. Switch hitter. For Detroit, 3.6. I think, he's going to be my second baseman today. I really like that. Third base, like I said, I think you're going to lock in Baum here. 3.5, just like I wouldn't go down like the Farmer, even though he has to split. Bro from Tampa Bay could be in the lineup against a lefty, having the split advantage. Evans is really cheap also, but I don't think you're going to go anyplace else. Like Baum, 3.5, super reasonably priced in Coors Field, a good hitter. Just go there. Just lock that in, move on. Don't get cute. Shortstop, probably can afford Story, but if not, short for Detroit, if you want to do like kind of a wraparound stack, he's only 2K. So don't mind him. But I said like Matten, if for on the Philly side of it, if he's in the lineup at 2.4 in Coors Field with the split advantage, definitely someone just to throw in there. Just thank you, DK, for this pricing. It's just so nice today. And if we look at outfield, you could go with Cave. He's got the split advantage. He's 2K minimum. Pham also, but if he's up against Kershaw, I really don't like that. Arizona, Calhoun and Smith up at the top of that lineup, having the split advantage. If Nola's not on, they're definitely would be reason. But like I said, Tapia, 3K. And if you do find a second baseman that you really like, or you work your way up and do get McMahon in there, then Goodrum, who I really, really like at second, works in outfield also. So there's a lot of good options for you. It should be a fun slate. And, I hope you all do well. I appreciate you watching this video. So McKinley will probably take over the weekend. I've got NASCAR to do with TK. So maybe we'll see if we can find a time for the two of us to do one together. But we just thank you for watching these and your feedback. And, if you have any questions, you can hit up me at Twitter at MegaRuler31 or McKinley at McKinley_412 on Twitter. We're here to answer your questions, help you out. We want to continue to provide these free services. So the way that you guys can help us out and continue to keep us on this channel here is just by giving us some likes, recommending to some friends, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Appreciate you guys watching and taking the time, and hopefully we helped you out, and hopefully it'll give you some success tonight. So good luck in your lineups, and enjoy.